Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Miles Stewart, and I'm a proud veterinary student and a member of the Food for Thought organization. In the fall of 2010, a group of undergraduate, graduate, and veterinary students all got together to talk about the disconnect between rural food producers and the urban consumers. The end result was creating this group, Food for Thought organization, a grassroots group of students, K-State students, and young alumni who seek to bridge this gap. The average consumer is now currently 2 generations away from the family farm. And at the same time, there is an increasing interest among consumers about where their food comes from and how is it produced. Food for Thought's goal is to help provide information about agriculture and opportunities to discuss food production practices. In addition to bringing speakers to campus, we also maintain a blog, Twitter account, and Facebook page. If you'd like to learn more information, please seek us out on the World Wide Web. Tonight, we have also worked with the Flint Hills Bread Basket to collect canned food items for those less fortunate. There were donation baskets located by the front doors, and they're still there if you have a donation to make. Tonight, our group would not be able to achieve any of these goals that we were setting out to strive without the help of our advisors, Dr. Dan Thompson, the director of the Beef Cattle Institute at the College of Veterinary Medicine, and Dr. Don Boggs, the associate dean of the College of Agriculture here at Kansas State University. Let's please give these mentors a round of applause for all their efforts they put in. In November 2010, Food for Thought hosted a lecture by world-renowned animal behaviorist and person with high-functioning autism, Dr. Temple Grandin. It was announced at the event that this will be a continued lecture series in the new Dr. Dan Upson series. Dr. Upson taught in the Kansas State College of Veterinary Medicine and Animal Science Department for 35 years before retiring in emeritus status in 1994. He has received numerous awards for his dedication for classroom teaching and veterinary professionalism, recently just being inducted to the AABP Hall of Fame. When a person thinks of K-State's history in agriculture and veterinary medicine, nobody has had a bigger impact in teaching students than Dr. Dan Upson. He has made numerous contributions throughout his teaching on campus and continues to work with the beef industry and veterinary profession in the state and national wide today. While I've had an opportunity to visit with several producers and people involved with the industry, and I say I'm affiliated with Kansas State, they always ask me, well, how is Dr. Dan Upson doing? You know, I thought he was a great teacher. Give him my regards. And to our Food for Thought members, this is what about academia is all about in an educator. Motivation for lifelong learning and trying to achieve that sincere success. Tonight, we are honored to have Miss America, Teresa Scanlan, as our 4th Upson Lectureship series, raised in Gearing, Nebraska. This Scanlan has taken strong initiatives to increase awareness about eating disorders and devastating effects they have on family, friends, and society. She strives to educate both children and adults alike about the eating disorders and how individuals can help themselves or their loved ones that they care about. Additionally, Ms. Scanlan has become an avid advocate for agriculture throughout her partnerships, including the Hands That Feed the United States and the U.S. Cattlemen's Association. Furthermore, she just started a partnership with the Animal Agriculture Alliance with the website realfarmersrealfood.com. The latest endeavor aims to provide real facts about modern food production and hardworking people involved in the agriculture industry. Ms. Scanlan has been very vocal about the importance of production agriculture to our society through numerous ways: YouTube, speaking events, print media, and even opinion articles such as Why Americans Have a Stake in the Success of Our Farmers and Ranchers. There's no doubt that her efforts have been invaluable to today's agriculture. However, without further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome for the 2011 Miss America, Teresa Scanlan.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello there. Thank you so much. How's everybody doing tonight? That didn't sound very good at all. How's everybody doing tonight? Now, everybody takes a lot of pictures of me this year. We've got a great looking crowd though, so I think it's my turn to take a picture of all of you out there. So make sure you're smiling. There we are. Now, If you didn't know already, I am on Twitter at Miss America, so if you'd like to see that picture and kind of keep up with everything else that we're doing this year, you can follow me on Twitter at Miss America. It's really, really a pleasure to be here. Today is actually my official 10-month anniversary since being crowned. I've got 2 more months as Miss America, as the next pageant will be held January 15th, where I'll be crowning the next Miss America in Las Vegas. And actually, with us today, we have our current reigning Miss Kansas, who will be competing for Miss America in just 2 months. Teresa Scanlan, please stand up, everybody. This is your Miss Kansas. So hopefully I'll be crowning her in January, but you can be watching that. It'll be on ABC on January 15th this year, so that'll be really exciting. Now we're going to take some time at the end to answer questions. I'd love to answer whatever you have. It can be about what we're talking about today or really anything else you'd like to know. I'd love to hear your questions and comments. First of all, I would like to just share some numbers from my year so far as Miss America, because now it is 305, the number of days that I've now spent as Miss America. Over 140,000, the number of miles that I've traveled during that time. More than 150, the number of planes that I've been on over the past 10 months. 36, the number of states that I've visited so far. 5, the number of countries that we've been to this year. 6, the number of marriage proposals I've received this year. And now that someone commented that number seems a little low. That's because that number is from the proposed himself. Countless would be more the number to describe the number of arranged marriages from parents, grandparents, relatives, and everybody else. Innumerable, the number of pictures that I've taken and autographs that I've signed. 4, the number of points on the Miss America crown, and they stand for 4 things: style, success, scholarship, and service. And those 4 things is what the Miss America organization is based on and what my job this year is all about. Those 4 things. And everything that I do kind of stems from those 4 fundamental ideas. No, I don't have a PowerPoint or anything. I'm all you get. So for all these numbers, just kind of try to keep track of them. But now, of course, I'd like to share some numbers that have to do with farming and ag, something that affects all of us. 57. The average age of the American farmer is 57. Agriculture Secretary Vilsack in July said it will soon be up to the next generation to pick up the mantle, produce our nation's food and fiber, and manage the risks that are inherent to agriculture. 25%. Ag workers make up over 25% of the 65 and older workforce. Urban Institute found that farmers tend to have extended careers. 1, the average age of the principal farm operator has increased roughly 1 year in each census cycle, from 50.3 in 1978 to 57.1 in 2007. The majority of farm operators are between 45 and 64, the USDA Ag Census found. 65, the fastest growing group of farm operators is those 65 and older. 100,000. 100,000 new farmers will be needed in the next several years to replace its aging workforce. 47,000. A farm family's average cost of living is $47,000, fewer than 1/4 of American farms, bringing in more than $50,000 a year. As a result, retiring farmers are selling their land to developers rather than passing down their farms to their children, resulting in rapid loss of acreage devoted to farming and agriculture. So I hope from those numbers you can see that they are not good, that they're actually posing quite a dilemma for us. That now we have about 210,000 working farms in the country. They are shouldering agriculture production in the country, and so there is what you may have referred to, and we often talk about, a thin green line. That thin green line of those 210,000 farms that are standing between an affordable, available, safe food supply that we have now and total dependence on foreign countries for our food. So to protect this thin green line of modern agriculture, I believe that it'll take a couple things, three main things. Raising up that new generation of farmers to take over the aging workforce that we saw from those numbers, that the next generation isn't stepping up, that workforce is so aging, and there has to be that next generation to step into those roles. It's also going to take us to educate and inform the public regarding farming and ag, to right all the misunderstandings, the misinformation that's so rampant across the country right now. We're seeing more and more, so much misinformation out there that the society as a whole and in general has a lot of attitudes that are really negative toward production agriculture. And so now we need to fight like never before for a strong farm policy and working with government and our politicians to support agriculture and to free up a lot of needless regulation that is making it difficult and harming it. And so I think those are three things that we can all be involved in and that we can all do to help protect this very thin green line that is continuing to be attacked really from all sides. So earlier this year, I was thrilled that we started a partnership with The Hand That Feeds Us. It's a coalition of a lot of different groups of farming and ag groups that is dedicated to advocacy and lobbying, especially in the DC area. So at the beginning of the year, we started a partnership with them, and through them have been able to do a lot of things in advocacy and support of farming and ag. And it's been a tremendous, tremendous opportunity this year to be able to do that. I feel that it's representing my community, my hometown, my state, and their main focus is this side of education and advocacy. And that's something that everybody can be a part of. That comes down to simply making sure that the people in your sphere of influence, your family, your friends, the people that you go to school with, whatever it may be, have the right understanding of agriculture. And that's what that's all about, just informing the people around you to spread those messages and get the information out there. And I really think that it's understandable that so many people are confused about the farming industry. Now the average American is 3 generations removed from the farm. So we're buy all our food in the grocery store with really no regard to where it came from, how it got there. And we're definitely seeing that this year as I travel across the country. We do a lot of school visits, whether it be elementary, middle school, high school, and I like to talk to kids about where their food comes from. And they say the grocery store, because we are so used to in the country it being stocked full of food that we've never experienced what it's like to have nowhere to go to find food, to have an empty grocery store, to not have those resources always there. And so we often don't think about how important that is. Now, to understand a little bit of my background, I feel a little bit awkward here because actually both of my parents went to KU. But I hope you don't hold it against me. I guess I should have saved that until the end so that hopefully they lock the door so nobody can leave right now. But from there, my dad went to medical school at KU. I was born in California. We went to South Carolina. They came back and ended up in the middle, in the Midwest again, when I was 3 years old. So Nebraska is my home. I grew up in western Nebraska in Gearing. Population 8,000. It's one of those towns where on the weekends, kids my age will hang out at Walmart or drive up and down Broadway in circles. So I think many of us know those kinds of towns, and that's the way it is. So grew up my entire life there, and again, I'm one of those average Americans who's 3 generations removed from the farm. That my parents weren't farming in the area. My dad was working at the local hospital, and my mom homeschooled the 7 of us. So she was a full-time teacher, but yet it was something that I was always around. And see, now being homeschooled, there's this certain homeschool mentality, I guess, that everything is a lesson. You learn from everything. So when you're homeschooled, there's no such thing as a vacation, it's a field trip. Anything you do, going to the grocery store, daily activities is always school. So you learn from everything, which was really great. And I came to really appreciate that when it came to learning about where we lived and how important the livelihood around us was. That's farming and ag. That, of course, around that area, sugar beets and corn are huge crops there. And just being around that, I thought that is just something you are used to, that anywhere in town you are no more than a mile away from a cornfield at any given time. And now this year I realized that many kids who haven't grown up in the same environment, the same circumstances, haven't learned about those kinds of things and haven't had that opportunity. But I really appreciated that my parents took the time to teach me about the importance of agriculture, even though it wasn't something they were even directly involved in. They understood that it affected all of us, and so I had the opportunity to learn about that. But see, I think that's one of the biggest problems that we're facing, is bridging that gap between generations and also between urban and rural America. Connecting the generations, connecting the parts of the country, helping spread the information out there, and righting the huge misunderstandings regarding ag. Now, Noah Holtgren, a corn farmer from Minnesota, discussed the growing confusion regarding agriculture in a recent article he wrote for the Huffington Post. Based on USDA figures, he said, his farm is among the biggest 6% of US farms, simply because he grosses more than $500,000 in sales. He is what most people refer to as a giant agribusiness. Meanwhile, the Small Business Administration classifies most businesses that gross less than $7 million in sales small. So oftentimes when we're talking to, whether it be politicians or the general public in a lot of areas, they have this idea that there are all of these huge corporations, huge giant farms, and there's tons and tons of them. They'll use numbers in the millions and in so many thousands, but as we said, there's about 210,000 actually working farms, because they're classified in an entirely different way. That while the Small Business Administration can consider anything that grosses less than $7 million in sales small, the same doesn't apply to agriculture. That you can barely make $500,000, and we definitely know that that's not all money that they're making, and still be classified as one of the largest in the country. And so, of course, when I heard that, I was thinking, okay, so maybe that is because all of that money is profit. No, definitely not. Noah explained that under favorable circumstances, meaning Mother Nature cooperates, market prices are fair, oil doesn't spike, and you don't run into any problems like equipment breaking down and needing expensive repairs, the $500,000 that his farm produces in sales could generate between $50,000 and $75,000 in profit a year, on a good year. Not exactly a gold mine. And you wonder why more young people aren't getting involved in the industry, why they aren't stepping up. It's risky business, and we all know that, but many people don't understand that. Now, to add to the pressure, of course, this year especially, we've seen natural disasters across the country. And the circumstances that farmers have found themselves in have certainly been less than favorable. Even though I haven't been directly affected, members of my extended family certainly have, because when you compete for Miss America, you get a whole new family of people from across the country who are a part of this organization. And we've, of course, heard from so many different states who are being affected by all of these natural disasters. And so now more than ever, we need strong farm policy to act as that safety net when these things occur. So many times there are farmers that just hit years and years of an unlucky streak with weather, with natural disasters that can be absolutely disastrous. And I know the kinds of toll that these things can take on a community. I mean, just over a year ago, there was a bad tornado through the Scottsbluff area that damaged a lot, and it turned into really a massive undertaking, a great cleanup project because of the community support and also because of strong farm policy. And that's where this comes into play. This year, I have been working with former Congressman and a strong ag advocate, Larry Combest, and we co-authored an op-ed in which we were explaining this is where our nation's farm policy comes into play. It's during these times, in the wake of catastrophe, when we're looking to rebuild, that our farmers need to be able to look toward a strong safety net to ensure that through the chaos, our nation's food and fiber industry is going to remain unharmed. So the cornerstone of this safety net is crop insurance. And when disaster strikes, private insurance companies cover the bulk of the losses. So that's shielding taxpayers from tremendous risk exposure. And that's why that's so important. See, people see agriculture as a necessity for sure, but they don't always see it as a privilege. And I truly believe it is. We're lucky enough in the country to have the safest, most affordable, most abundant food supply in the world. That's a privilege. And it's our right as citizens of this country. But in order to maintain this right, our government needs to work with our farmers. They need to make sure that the best policies are in place, and most importantly, that that safety net will help them rebuild. So there has grown really, I think, the next tremendous problem that we're seeing, and that has to do with modern agriculture and crop protection. And really, we have seen a lot of, in mainstream media, food and agriculture come up more than ever, which can be a great thing, but unfortunately it's a lot of negative things. It's essential with modern agriculture to keep up with the growing demand and to utilize the latest advances in technology to keep up with this. But there's grown to be a huge misunderstanding of this, and I think this really has to do in large part to the organic movement. And this is not an entirely bad thing, but with my platform of eating disorders, this has kind of stemmed into this year a large campaign in general health, nutrition, wellness, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, what I find is we are a country of extremists, that it's always one extreme or the other. And so when it comes to focusing on health and nutrition, so many people think you have to go to extremes. It's not about extremes. It's about moderation and focusing on that healthy middle line. Well, I really think that that's also what we're seeing with this entire organic movement, that so many people believe that modern agriculture is extremely bad for your health and that you have to go completely organic to be healthy. Now, of course, the all-knowing Wikipedia says this about organic food. Organic foods are foods that are produced using methods that do not involve modern synthetic inputs, such as synthetic pesticides and chemical fertilizers, do not contain genetically modified organisms, and are not processed using radiation, industrial solvents, or chemical food additives. Okay, general explanation of organic food. Now, the funny part is, though, that it goes on to say this. The weight of the available scientific evidence has not shown a significant difference between organic and more conventionally grown food in terms of safety, nutritional value, or taste. Really? I had no idea. But a lot of people don't. They see the rhetoric over and over again in the media about, oh, everything but organic food is going to kill you, is going to cause cancer. And they believe that when there's no strong scientific evidence showing that there's any difference in the health benefits between these two things. So modern agriculture has gotten a bad rap with media, and especially young people, but I think really all it takes is a little information to dispel that. We recently had the opportunity to work with CropLife America in California for their national convention. And speaking there, I learned a lot from so many of the people there. They gave me a lot of information about crop protection specifically. And so the following is from them, and they explained that crop protection safeguards human health. Many agriculture commodities are vulnerable to attack by aflatoxins, and insect control is necessary to prevent its passage from insect to plant. Aflatoxin, a carcinogen, can cause liver and other cancers in humans, lower the body's normal immune response, and can impair growth in children. Crop protection chemicals are used to control insect damage that leads to aflatoxin contamination. Because I don't think any of us want that. Does not sound so great. Also, crop protection has vast consumer benefits, of course. Pesticides allow consumers to consume high-quality produce that is free of insect blemishes and insect contamination. Crop protection chemicals that reduce and in some cases eliminate insect damage allow the consumer to purchase high-quality produce free of insect fragments. I don't think any of us want insect fragments all over our fresh produce. But so through some information on both sides, whether it be scientific evidence, that type of thing, you can start to see that maybe there has been a lot of hype about these things. And it continues to just be an issue where we need to encourage people to get all the information that they can from both sides, to examine the issue from every possible area, and to realize that in order to keep up with the demand that we need to feed this world, we need modern agriculture, and that there is definitely a healthy balance finding what is going to be best for our health in agriculture. And that's what we're all dedicated to, because it affects all of us. But unfortunately, I think I found that it's not only young people not understanding the importance of crop protection, it's also on the government side of things. And the reason I think I can maybe beat up on politicians a little bit is because that's what I want to do in the future. And following this year, I'll be going to study government in Washington, D.C. Ever since I was about 7 or 8 years old, probably, people would come up to me and say, "So little girl, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I'd say, "A lawyer, judge, president, and a Supreme Court justice." That was my plan. Had it all planned through. And so through this year, of course, we've done all sorts of different things. A lot of people continue to ask, what are my plans following this year? And so I'm going to Patrick Henry College to study government. I'd like to go to law school and then go back to Nebraska to be a criminal prosecution attorney, and then become a judge, and then join politics to become president or a Supreme Court justice. So it's still the plan. And with, I don't know exactly how that may turn out all the way to the end. Maybe those last steps won't be accomplished. I've certainly learned through this year that sometimes my plans aren't the way things turn out, that sometimes God has even bigger plans for me, and you never know what may be coming your way, but I'll certainly be working my way there. But what I've found is this year it's been wonderful to have the opportunity to meet with a lot of politicians and work with a lot of government leaders and that type of thing. And I think we can all agree that sometimes politicians make silly laws. Now, if you don't believe me, let's just take some examples. Take Alaska, for example. In Fairbanks, it is illegal to feed alcoholic beverages to a moose. That's a needed law. While it is legal to shoot bears, waking a sleeping bear for the purpose of taking a photograph is prohibited. In Arizona, in Globe, Arizona, it is illegal to play cards in the street with a Native American. Not only is it a little silly to play cards in the street, it's illegal. Now let's take California. It's a misdemeanor to shoot any kind of game from a moving vehicle unless the target is a whale. In Pacific Grove, California, be very careful if you go there, because molesting butterflies can result in a $500 fine. Do not molest the butterflies there. Also in California, it's illegal to set a mouse trap without a hunting license. Make sure you get your hunting license prior to setting mouse traps. In Connecticut, a very important law, in Hartford, it is illegal to educate a dog. Don't educate your dog. Can't send them to school. In Georgia, in Quitman, it's illegal for a chicken to cross a road. It's also illegal in Georgia to change the clothes on a storefront mannequin unless the shades are down. Inappropriate. In Hawaii, it is illegal to own a mongoose without a permit. In Illinois, in Chicago, it's illegal to fish in one's pajamas. Can't be comfy while fishing, sorry. In Chicago, it's also illegal to take your French poodle to the opera. In Indiana, monkeys are forbidden to smoke cigarettes in South Bend. And Kansas, the wonderful state that we're in, well, in Wichita, it's illegal to carry a concealed bean snapper. In Lang, just in case you're planning on doing this, it is illegal to ride a mule down Main Street in August unless the animal is wearing a straw hat. Put that straw hat on your mule. In Kentucky, it's illegal to remarry the same man 4 times. Not only is it just plain stupid, it's also illegal. In In Kentucky, it's also illegal to carry a concealed weapon that is more than 6 feet long. Now, not only am I trying to think of a weapon that could possibly be longer than 6 feet, but also I'm trying to imagine the person who could conceal a weapon longer than 6 feet. Now, of course, I'll conveniently stop reading these laws before I get to Nebraska. But here's where the real problem comes in. That many of these laws, of course, don't really apply, that people don't pay attention to them, but they start making ridiculous laws that apply to farming as well. And that's where it gets a little more serious, because I was speaking to a rancher in Nebraska that was explaining that they're trying to fine the owners of cattle every time a cow passes gas because of CO2 emissions. How more natural and organic can you get than that? There is also a proposed law to make it that anytime a farmer drives down his dirt road, he has to sprinkle water behind his truck to keep the dust down. So not only in these areas like Nebraska, where water is very scarce and you often go through droughts for years, so you have to waste water to do that. When it's hot and dry, it's going to turn back into dust in roughly 5 seconds. And dust in the air is really not any kind of pollution that any of us need to worry about. Yet there are people who don't understand farming and ag, who think up these laws thinking they sound great, and think they're going to help something, when really they may be needless regulations that are making it a lot more difficult for farmers to do what they do. And so we're seeing that these ridiculous things are happening with the federal budget as well. The recently passed House Agriculture Appropriations Bill for 2012 recommends significant cuts to the USDA budget, including almost $1 billion in the conservation programs that benefit many beginning farmers. This is found by the San Francisco Chronicle. And so right now, actually, about 1/4% of our federal budget goes to agriculture. Very, very tiny, 1/4%. And yet they're continually making cuts from that tiny percentage that's continuing to hurt those in farming and ag, that the few protections that are there are continuing to be stripped away, and that more regulations, more stipulations are being put up instead. That is really going to continue to not only hurt the industry, but again, keep many from stepping up and being involved, and for the next generation to take over the role of our current farmers and ranchers. That right now we need the total opposite. We need more support. We need to make it easier and be more supportive of young people who want to start farms, who want to start getting involved in the food and fiber industry of the country. That we need all of us to support that and help everyone else understand how important it is. Because protecting farming and ag and supporting modern agriculture is the only way that we hold on to that thin green line. We have the resources, the ability, and technology to keep up with the world's growing population, if we're allowed to. You know, honestly, I think this fight is more than just about us. It's more than just those who this is their life and their livelihood. It's about feeding the world. America's breadbasket feeds so much more than just our country. It feeds the world, and there's a rapidly growing population here in the world that we need to be able to keep up with this expanding world year after year. And I think this comes back to the 4 points on the crown: style, success, scholarship, and service. It's about service, serving others. That we can use farming and ag to serve others, thinking about the needs of others and how we can fulfill that, how we can reach out and support the needs of our world. And if nothing else, it's about doing more. I think the main thing is I want to encourage all of you who are already involved in this fight, who are already doing so much, and encourage those of you who maybe haven't thought about it too much to get involved, that we all can do more, that it is about doing all that we can for others and serving those in our community, our country, and our world. I found this poem that I really enjoy, and I hope it just encourages you in some small way. It's called "I Will Do More" by William Ward. It says, "I will do more than belong. I will participate. I will do more than care. I will help. I will do more than believe. I will practice. I will do more than be fair. I will be kind. I will do more than forgive. I will forget. I will do more than dream. I will work. I will do more than teach. I will inspire. I will do more than earn. I will enrich. I will do more than live. I will grow. I will do more than be friendly. I will be a friend. I will do more than be a citizen. I will be a patriot." So it's about doing more. Not being satisfied with good enough, but always finding ways to push the boundaries, push the limits, use what we have, the incredible advantages we have in this country, the technology, the resources to do more. Striving to do more with modern agriculture to provide our generation, my generation, with the same safe, plentiful food supply that we're so blessed to have. Because oftentimes when we're talking about the future of ag, as at the Crop Life America convention, they kept on bringing up the year 2050. And in these different things that they were talking about, they were saying, we hope to accomplish this by the year 2050. Or if we don't do this by the year 2050, this will be the effect. And I'm thinking, a lot of these people, and quite honestly, probably more than half of us out here, I don't know how to say this nicely, but won't be around by the year 2050. Who will be, though? The students here, the young people here, my generation. We're going to be the ones who are around to feel the effects, the things that are happening right now. That I want my children and my grandchildren to have, again, the same safe, affordable, plentiful food supply that we experience now. That we're going to either reap the benefits of what's happening now as far as farm policy and support of ag, or we're going to feel some effects in the coming years and decades. And so we need to continue to do more to ensure that we can continue to serve others and feed the world. So I really have to thank those of you who are involved in this in so many ways already for everything that you're doing. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your involvement, for your passion, for your interest. We may be the leaders of tomorrow, especially for the young people out there, for the students at the college. But as you can see, we can start making a difference today, every single person. And I think that we are all in a position to have our voice be heard in some way. That social media, of course, is powerful. Tweeting, blogging, Facebook, whatever it may be, to continually spread information. So we can all learn about the issues facing agriculture. We can all be involved when we get the chance. You can be involved in these groups on campus. You can be involved in national organizations. You can find more information at thehandthatfeedsus.org. There are so many things that we can do to be involved and be a part of this. So, I mean, get involved in the communities around you, in the programs, in whatever you can. Kind of my motto this year has become, not everybody farms, but everybody has to eat. That's why it affects every single one of us. Thanks so much for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Teresa. We will now have a question and answer session, and there are mics on each side of the room, so you can go there and ask a question. So please go ahead.
If you have questions about absolutely anything, whether it be what we're talking about, anything else you'd like to know, there's microphones on either side of the room that you can go to. Don't mean to put you on the spot having to stand there, but.
Hi, I actually have a question from the Twitter land.
All right.
We've been putting up asking people to put in questions via Twitter. This is from Holistic Management International. The question is, how can those in ag help support sustainable agriculture?
I think, honestly, I'm certainly not an expert on the topic, as far as I'm sure many here know a lot more than I do. However, I think that's what we're all striving to do, is that, like I said, we're thinking about the future, we're thinking about the year 2050 and beyond, that it's completely about sustainable agriculture. We want to only involve practices that are sustainable, that are going to carry through for decades and decades to come. And so getting as much information as you can in that area, if you are involved in farming and ag, of course, that's something you need to be extremely aware of. Practices that are going to be sustainable. That's something everybody is focused on as a whole. There's a lot of information out there regarding what can help become more sustainable. There's a lot of practices already in place, and we're continuing again to see that technology that is going to continue to make things more sustainable, and science is doing a lot in that area as well, and those are all things that we can utilize and take advantage of in that area of sustainable agriculture.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions whatsoever from anyone?
I have another one from the Twitterverse.
Okay.
This is from Michelle in Indiana. And Michelle wants to know, how do you believe ag can have a more proactive, positive discussion about modern ag with consumers?
I think it takes it a general, really push in media, in society in general, that oftentimes the ag community is very quiet. That we found that this year, that they're extremely supportive, they're extremely encouraging of the efforts being made, but yet those who are most involved continue to be, pretty quiet. They're working hard, they're continuing to do their thing. They're taking care of all of us without really us even realizing it. And our job right now is to make a big fuss, to be louder, to be heard. That, again, there's a lot coming up in mainstream media, that people are more focused on food, on agriculture, that you're seeing actually usually in any of your usual magazines on health, nutrition, wellness, a lot of things coming up about, again, organic food, or about different things that are in your food. So people are focused more on where their food comes from, what's in it, what's involved in the production of it, and that can be something that we can use to then tell our side that it's something people are already interested in, something they want to know about, but they can't just get one-sided information. That those who are involved in modern agriculture and crop production need to be out there in general, larger arenas, larger audiences, to the public as a whole, spreading those messages and helping them understand both sides of the story. So I think right now is really an ideal time to do that, because we have kind of this heightened interest in that area, and these things that people are really finally starting to care about this sector and this industry as a whole. So we can utilize that to do more on our side of things and to let our voice be heard. And that's really, again, why I'm trying to do whatever I can. That it may be small, and that it's just one extra voice, it's one extra perspective that may be a little different. That a lot of people are, what does Miss America care about agriculture? Again, it's not everybody farms, but everybody has to eat. Everybody should care about this. We just recently got to be in Kansas City last week at NAFB convention for the farm broadcasters, and did a ton of interviews with all of them. But the thing is that with farm broadcasting, this information is, again, just to the ag community. So I think we could really do well to continue to find more ways to get that information more into the mainstream, and that no matter what industry, job, background you're from, start letting your voice be heard, because it's going to take perspectives from all over the country, from different walks of life, from different areas, to continue showing their support and advocacy. And that's what I'm trying to do this year, and it's certainly not just going to be, not just this year. because going into politics, going into all of that, I know it's going to be a huge issue that I'll continue to work with, and that's going to only continue to become more and more important in everything that I'm doing. And so I know that it's not going to end here, that there are going to be many, many more years of being involved in this and being part of the fight. And so that's something we should all look forward to, and look forward to doing more, finding more ways to get involved in that area.
This next question also comes from Twitter. It happens to be someone who is trending under food chat this evening. Casey from Florida asks, have you found a way to successfully communicate the advantages of biotechnology in agriculture?
It's tough, again, because I think the best people probably to do that are scientists, because everybody wants the science-based information. And so we can do well to find that information and to learn more about it, which I'm trying to do continually. But really, I think that it does come down to more scientists being involved in researching that, that they are the best ones to be able to have that information. I think that there's a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of misinformation, and that's going to need to continue to change, and something that we can continue to work towards because of the information that is out there. Again, it's one of those things that because there's a heightened awareness that people want to know more about it, we have a great chance and opportunity to get involved there.
If a young person grows up on a farm and wants to leave, how would you help support them to stay on the farm or change their mind?
Again, that it is extremely important for all of us. That really, I think our farmers and those involved in farming and ag in this country should be the most celebrated people. You know, it's our military and our farmers that keep us going here in the country. And I think we can do more to support them. And for young people who are thinking about leaving their farm, if it's purely based on financial reasons, hopefully they realize that the fight is so much more than that, and that it's so much more important than that. They should also realize that it affects everyone, that because we have such a small number of farms, every single one is important. Every single one counts. And even losing one at a time really makes a difference in the country. And so we need to hold on, even if it's hard, even if it's not something that, that is really favorable at this time. Hold on to that, keep on working, because again, we need that next generation to step up. If they're not there, who knows what is going to happen to our nation's food and fiber industry.
You said that a lot of the farms that are sustainable right now are the older generation, and a lot of those older generation are not into technology like us younger generation, I guess,
right.
Like social media and all of that, so then they kind of sit in reserved, you know? So
right.
How does that, I mean, obviously has a huge effect on
yes.
the growth of agriculture. How do we get those older generation to influence the younger generation to continue in agriculture?
Right, that's tough, honestly. That's what I'm saying is we see they're the quiet ones. They're the ones who are working extremely hard, who may have been doing this their entire life, that the older generation of those involved in farming and ag usually aren't the ones who are going to be out there fighting, advocating, spreading the message. That's something that we kind of have to take over. I don't know that there really is too much we can do about that, considering they're already doing their job. They're really doing all that they can. I honestly think that it's now our turn to be able to work on the advocacy side of things to help them, and then again for the young people to step up into those positions. You're definitely right. Because of that aging workforce, they may not be as in tune to the fact that it is so much under attack. They're definitely feeling the effects, but it's something that it's going to take the next generations to step up into that role to do that. Yes?
I definitely agree that agriculture is underappreciated. I come from a small farming town and stuff, but what are your views on, like, and the only really conservation thing you mentioned was the fees on cows and stuff like that. What do you think about like very real conservation issues like topsoil erosion and agricultural runoff?
I think that that's where we need to use modern technology and science to continue to figure out how to address those issues. And honestly, when people start talking about environmentalism or conservationists, I believe our farmers and ranchers are the very top tier of environmentalists. They are the highest form of conservationists because that's our livelihood. I mean, they're not going to do anything to harm the very land that is everything to them, that they understand how to protect it, how to preserve it, how to conserve it. And that's something that we continue to research, that they continue to find more information on, because I think that's really their agenda more than anybody, is being environmentally friendly, because the environment, of course, affects farming and ag at its very core. Being conservationists, because that's the only way to sustain this livelihood. They are definitely focused on that, and I think, again, utilizing all of the technology and science that we possibly can help us learn how to better become conservationists, how to better focus on the effects that we may be having on the environment. And so that's what agriculture science and all of that is all about. And that's why I'm glad to see so many students involved in that here on campus, because learning all that you can now, you can lend yourself to that movement to help with conservation and to help focusing on the environment, because that's on everybody's mind, absolutely. But I think no more so than on the minds of farmers and ranchers. Yes?
In both rural and urban Kansas and America, we've been experiencing problems with food deserts and the distribution chain and that fact. So what more can we do to encourage that rural grocery stores and urban grocery stores don't leave those communities that really need them to provide fresh, safe, local food?
I think it definitely comes down to the community as a whole realizing how important that is. So many times we're not focused on buying local, on supporting our local stores, whatever it may be. That because yes, oftentimes it's cheaper to not do that. We need to realize how important that is to preserve that. Sometimes I know growing up in a rural area, it seemed more novel to go out of town or out of state to go shopping or to do whatever, but not realizing that staying local was so important to protect the community. And that's not only with farming and ag, that's really with any industry. That so many times rural areas and small communities are really struggling because so many people aren't focused on supporting what's already there in their hometown, in their community, in their area. And I think that's something we can all be more mindful of and help others realize how important it is to support those things that are grown locally, produced locally, whatever it may be, supporting those small towns and communities so that they can continue and that it can be feasible to have a business in a small town, in a small area. And that comes down to each and every person in the community, really. Yes?
I guess my question kind of goes along with hers.
Right.
How do you feel, I guess, personally and professionally, seeing how you're going into politics? So, with the bigger commercial operations versus the small town operations who are maybe not as specialized,
right.
How do you feel like that, like, especially in the recession, how that affects the overall economy and overall agriculture with shutting down those smaller operations to become bigger commercial specialized operations?
I definitely support both because, see, I think the whole problem here, and especially we're seeing in our current economy and political state, that people are so, again, extremists one-sided, that they're saying, I either support small businesses or I support corporations and the whole idea of capitalism. They can coexist. We need to support it across the board. That we do support maybe those smaller farming operations so that they can grow bigger, to make it easier for them, but also support the larger ones that are feeding maybe larger numbers of people, that are producing more. It's not a problem to have a small hobby farm. It's not a problem to have smaller farms that maybe don't produce as much. It's not a problem to have the larger ones. We need them all. They all are helpful. They all do something. They all do help the economy. And so I think we would do well to continue to support in each and every one of those and not try to shut down one side completely in order to support the other. That's not necessary. I think in the economy it's really important to be able to support it all, because every single industry, every single sector is helping create jobs, grow the economy, and there's not, it makes no sense to try to harm small businesses rather than larger ones, or vice versa. I think it really comes down to understanding that small farms and larger production agriculture alike are helpful to our country and our world, and feeding and taking care of the food and fiber industry. Yes?
Hello, good evening. I'm Melissa Novinsky, and my husband and I currently farm outside of Atchison, Kansas.
Wonderful.
And I have several family members who are also involved in production agriculture.
Great.
And just on behalf of everyone involved in agriculture, we want to thank you for promoting and educating everyone about agriculture. It's not a normal platform for Miss America to be taking, and we appreciate the platform that you are taking to educate America about agriculture.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for all that you're doing. You're reaching out to so many people and spreading the word, and we just appreciate it so much. And then the question I have is that since this isn't a typical platform for Miss America to be taking, what opposition have you dealt with in your platform, and how have you dealt with that opposition? And for those of us who use social media or blogging or trying to get out the message, what advice would you give us in dealing with people who oppose agriculture or who are trying to get the good message out?
First of all, I actually have not dealt with much criticism at all for this, which is really great. I've felt a lot of support, which is very encouraging. I have not received much negativity or at all. The thing that comes across sometimes, actually often, is again, the whole, oh, well, what do you have anything to do with agriculture? Why is it something you support? Or, you know, you didn't grow up on a farm, so why do you have anything to do with it? Again, I think that shows all the more that even those who are not involved directly in it need to be advocates. They need to be supporters, that every single citizen of the country needs to take on that role, whether it's something you're involved directly with or not. So again, just my motto, not everybody farms, but everybody has to eat. So that's why I'm interested, because I love eating, and it's something I need to do every day. So something I'm definitely interested in and supportive of. So that takes care of that side of things. However, when it comes to social media, I never personally would advocate arguing with someone on social media. I've seen that all too much, not with this, with anything, really. A lot of young people especially think it's a great platform to hold debates. I personally don't think so. I think when there are negativity, comments, whatever else, simply posting more new positive information is a lot more beneficial than responding directly and starting a fight. I don't know if many of you kind of understand what I'm talking about or have been in similar situations. Don't respond to straight criticism, negativity. If someone asks a legitimate question, that's a different story. Otherwise, I would say if somebody has some criticism regarding one specific issue, go find information regarding that issue and post it, whether it be another video, another article, whatever it may be. When it comes to, say, YouTube, a lot of people like to type comments on YouTube, and because that's nice and safe. I mean, they're hidden behind anonymous, whatever it may be, instead of posting videos. Tell them post a response video, because that they can more adequately then give an argument or defend themselves. So if people are posting negative comments on videos, post another video with more information rather than responding directly to that, if that makes sense. I think that's a lot more beneficial, and I think that makes a bigger difference than trying to just start a debate or start an argument, because the typed word is a lot harder to, is a lot easier to misunderstand. It's a lot easier for someone to get the wrong idea, your tone of voice can't come across, all of that. So that's oftentimes not so effective. But continuing to post positive information, whether you find another article with great scientific evidence supporting modern agriculture, whether it be you find another opinion from somebody else who's an advocate, whatever it may be, continue spreading that information in a positive way rather than turning to negativity. Yes?
The idea that feeding ourselves could become an issue is frightening. Is there anything currently being done about this politically or legislatively? If so, how can we support these legislations and encourage better conditions for the future?
There definitely is quite a bit going on, especially in the political arena. Saying that we should be involved more does not at all mean that there's nothing happening right now. We've had the pleasure of meeting many members of Congress, those on the Agriculture Committee especially, who are very focused on addressing this very scary issue. So there is legislation coming up, definitely. However, I think something that's many people in Congress don't understand is, yes, that's a scary idea, but they think that, oh, we can just import our food from other countries. I'm sorry, but if you don't like your oil and gas being imported from other countries, you're really not going to like all your food coming from other countries. So I don't think that that's the answer at all. Everybody understands how important it is that we need our food and fiber industry, but I don't think they understand the importance of keeping it in the country, keeping it local. Again, we have the ability to then safeguard our food and fiber industry with regulations that are great. Again, we have the safest food supply in the world here in the country. So we want to keep it here. We want to safeguard that. So I think that's the most important thing, especially on the political side of things, that they need to realize that it's not even just an issue of making sure we always have food, it's making sure we have food that comes from our country here. That way we can always regulate it, safeguard it, and make sure it's to the level that we want it to be. That we are lucky to have the great food supply we do currently, and we need to protect that. All right, thank you guys so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.